Good evening. I will now call to order the January 13th, 2020 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. This meeting is being recorded. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items?
I have one that I emailed earlier.
Okay.
I guess it's on your continuation list, but it's a request for certificate of compliance for Holistic on Northampton Street.
Yeah, and I got the documents that you sent earlier.
Good. So I have got
Your hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and because there's no snow, it'd be nice if we could have a site visit as soon as possible. So I know Cassie's
Yeah, I don't know if you saw my response, but so I have a kind of
Wednesday or Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of the other commissioners want to come out to it on either of those days.
All right. Cassie, do you have this electronically as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not available those mornings, but if anyone else is, they're more than welcome to.
Wednesday or Thursday could work.
Okay. Yeah, it's all day
In the
Wednesday.
morning.
In the morning, yeah. You want to do 11 o'clock Thursday morning?
Yeah. Or can you do Wednesday? Maybe.
Wednesdays, that's
No,
fine.
11 Thursday's good. If that works for you guys, I know
Yeah,
that's early.
that works.
but, yeah.
11 Thursday? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Matt.
Is that this Thursday?
Yes, the 16th.
What time?
11 a.m. Thursday morning. The 16th.
Okay. Any other non-agenda items? All right, moving on to public hearings and meetings. First item, public hearing continued from December 9th, 2019. Bundled notice of intent filed by the City of Easthampton, Mass DEP file number 151307. Applicant is seeking an order of conditions for various routine non-exempt maintenance activities.
They are continuing.
All right, is there a motion to continue to the Commission's January 27th meeting at 6 p.m.?
Motion to continue to January 27th at 6 p.m.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, next item, public meeting. Request for determination of applicability filed by Riverside Industries. Applicant is seeking a determination of applicability for the repair of a bridge over the existing channel located at 1 Cottage Street, map 15, lot 1, lot 165. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Jim Gracia, representing Riverside Industry. And that description is a little deceiving because it's not really a bridge. It's the canal that goes from National Pond under the building, and there's a section of it that has some ground and roof. So I call it a canal. It could be called a culvert. It's basically a canal with a concrete path. Yeah, I don't know if everybody's seen.
Yeah, there's some pictures in the first page of that file as well.
Yeah, location is across the street behind the buildings. If anybody's been over there, this is where the vans, the Riverside vans, drop off clients and pick them up at the end of the day. The bridge that was repaired last year is over here, but the one that we're working on is over here.
So it's this
Under the
area?
parking area. Right now,
Site visit.
Great.
right now it's existing blacktop, and they're just gonna saw cut around the perimeter of the deteriorated section that's gonna be replaced. They'll saw cut the existing concrete cap and beams and lift them out with a machine, whether it be a crane or a big excavator, one or the other. Load them directly onto a truck and truck them away. Prior to doing any work, we want to go in and hang a debris netting attached to the walls of the existing canal. And the heavier netting will be on the bottom. We'll put a layer of filter fabric on the top to catch any fines as much as we can. All that work for the netting will have to be done with workers and waiters. They'll go in there. There'll be no equipment touching the water, doing any excavation whatsoever within the canal below the water level.
And you said there was a site visit on what date?
It was
Thursday.
completed on Thursday, the 9th,
And that was attended by,
the three of us.
okay. Did you get that? What-
Okay.
What did you observe?
I don't know, I didn't have anything to say against the plan, proposed plan.
Basically, you can see, unless you get down in the water and look under with a flashlight, you can't really see much, but this, this is a surface that'll be cut out. There's a rail and a beam at the end, this would be the downstream end of the culvert. Well, that's gonna stay in place, and they'll cut it off just upstream of that, and then cut the, looks like this hatched section is the pile will be repaired.
Is the channel here concrete or bottom?
Hard to
Can't tell what the bottom is debris.
There's a lot of,
There's a lot of-
rocks.
Okay.
Right.
There's a century of debris in there.
Sure. Okay.
But one thing that I thought of is, when they're in there, hanging this netting, there's gonna be some old snags and stuff that come over the dam. Would they be able to drag that out? I'm not sure physically how they'd be able to do it if it's too big, but, there's small stuff they can drag out.
But there's bricks and concrete pieces and things like that that they could remove unless we don't want them to disturb anything.
Yeah, I think really the only thing that would be worth taking out is like a branch or some kind of piece of wood that's drifted down there over the years, gets stuck in there. That'll catch, other things.
Right.
But the old concrete and bricks in the bottom of the channel, I wouldn't touch those.
Yeah, I would say especially not knowing what the bottom of the
Right.
channel is.
Mm.
Wouldn't wanna disturb that. So I guess the other thing to talk about here is that this portion of the site is part of a historic mill complex or qualifies for consideration.
Right.
We went over this when we did the parking lot
Mm.
for 15 Cottage Street.
Right.
Were you
I
staying there at that
was
time?
not involved in that, but,
Not even a city engineer?
well, stayed out of it. I had enough trouble with other projects.
I don't think there's much debate about that, but this was part of it. It was when we got to the northern part of the project, the site, that kind of fell off, being certain about that. Is there any question? Move for food. See what else?
I think my description of
Oh,
the
sorry.
word,
Please-
other
please
than
continue.
removing, well, once they remove the old stuff, they're gonna put in new beams, put a corrugated pan down the concrete pan, and then they pour a new concrete deck, and then pave the parking lot afterwards. That's the end of the project.
What's the depth that they're,
It's about 18 inches, the old beams and the new beams. So it'll be basically the same headroom under there. They're gonna reuse the old beam pockets that are there now, just fix them up a little bit as needed. And then they'll drop a steel beam in. Right now, they're steel beams, but they're encased in concrete. It's kind of weird, and a lot of the concrete spalled off of those steel beams. That's how they did it back when.
do you know
Held
how
up
old
for
this
a
is?
long time. It's got to be in the 20s when they started building these mills.
Okay, so you do have a note about removing the netting.
Yes. Before they put the new cap on it. They'll have to clean anything that fell into it from above.
Is there a contractor on board, or do they have a schedule?
It's a spring job. I don't believe they've actually hired the contractor yet. They've got some pricing. Five Star is going to be managing the project for us.
The other bridge that was done was done under an NOI, correct?
Yes.
There was a lot more involved in that one. There was excavation of the abutments and everything else in
Right.
that one.
So there's no excavation at all with this
No.
of soil, but they are gonna have to remove all of the existing concrete and
Right.
asphalt.
Yeah, they got to scrape off the old blacktop down to the top of the old concrete roof, or whatever you want to call it. And then they can see where the joints are, and then they'll be able to cut it into pieces that they can lift and truck it out.
How will you prevent having concrete or asphalt slop over into the channel?
The netting that'll go in, it'll completely cover the bottom underneath the existing structure from wall to wall. And they'll drill anchors into the existing masonry and the balls. And the netting has a heavy, it's either cable or a heavy rope that'll go into the anchors and they'll stretch it across. And then, anything that falls in is going to be small pieces. Hopefully, they don't lose some big chunks of concrete, but they'll be chaining it up and then lifting it out in big pieces. So there'll be some fines that will probably fall through onto the netting, but that's why the filter fabric on the top will capture the fine material.
Do you think that concrete's reinforced, or do you think it's just
It's definitely reinforced.
reinforced, so it'll come out, it won't break up into pieces and
Right.
try to lift it, okay?
Yeah. They'll be, like I said, they'll saw cut it into manageable sections
Okay.
and then lift it out. If you notice the front of the town hall, the old town hall now, there's a netting, it's vertical, basically the same stuff. It's pretty heavy duty, but we'll be doing it horizontal instead of, in that case, it's vertical.
But like you said, someone can get caught on it. If something goes over and gets caught on the netting, is it gonna be monitored every day?
Oh, they'll be there working. They gotta get this done as fast as they can, because they use this courtyard for, all their vans. There's easily a dozen, 15 vans that go in and out of there every day, twice a day. So they'll have to rearrange their schedules until this gets finished.
You were saying at the visit that you thought it would only take a couple of weeks, ideally.
That's what I'm told. We'll see if everything goes right.
It's pretty straightforward to me.
Not a lot of choices with it. I mean, it's a safety issue now. It's not it's not ready to collapse, but it definitely needs to be replaced. And they've been in and they did all the measurements this past summer. And, I didn't have to really do any of the video or anything, but they did take pictures inside of it.
Yeah, I don't think we had any real questions when we had a site visit. Just more capturing the debris and netting, and that was it.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I mean, I had gotten down on a ladder and looked up through the mouth of the culvert on the channel this side, looking this way. And you can see a ways with a flashlight, but it's kind of a little cold to get in the water.
I was down there a few months ago, by the way.
Just identify yourself for the record,
Scott
please.
Berger, I'm the building manager at Riverside Industries on
Thank
Cottage
you.
Street.
Did you get a sense of how long this project was going to take? Did they tell you that?
I was thinking between 6 and 8 weeks.
Oh, that long? Okay, all right. Okay.
The walls under there are concrete.
There's masonry, big granite blocks, and then there's some concrete. It's hard to tell, some of it was barged over with cement, but the basic walls were big granite blocks. I mean, big, it's this table.
Yep. And so that you've been through there, or they've been through there, and they seem to be in okay shape, not expecting any surprises.
You walked it, right? You
I
climbed on
walked
there?
with the engineers
Yeah.
when we first looked at the project.
I think the concern there is like all of a sudden you get it uncovered and you discover all these structural issues and what do we do then?
Yeah.
So if you're confident that that would be a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
No, we are. Our engineers were in there 2 or 3 times, and they were taking all their measurements. They were looking at everything, walls, the structure, and even around that little bend part, where it widens out a bit.
There's an existing fence stack that comes off to the National Park Pond, and I went into this building, and this is where it discharged way back when. It's blocked off now. So that's where that
That's a whole
little
another level of curiosity
section.
there. We won't go down that rabbit hole, even though it's tempting.
Yeah.
So that's why this is shaped the way it is.
Yeah, the main channel goes this way, and then when they were generating power through the turbines in the basement of the main building, it would really discharge out this direction. But it's been blocked off at the wall of the building now, is that correct?
Yeah, where it goes underneath the building. It's a brick archway. It's about 8 feet, I believe it says on the original prints.
So,
Through the chair, question, statement. Mark Spencer, DEP. So if there's a problem, right, don't forget, the determination cannot be amended or extended. So there's a disadvantage to the applicant by doing this. Whereas if it was an order of conditions, that could be amended to allow potential when issues come up. So there's advantages and disadvantages each way, your regulatory way to permit this.
I assume you have the RDA before us for a reason. So, and I think, thank you. I think as long as there's just a general understanding that this is the snapshot in time, the snapshot of work that we're looking at, and that's what the determination would apply to, and any future modification or other change in scope would have to be addressed separately. So with the question before us, are there any further questions, comments, discussion? Would anyone care to make a motion?
The form is up there somewhere. Somebody had it written.
The work is within an area subject to protection, but will not alter that in the resource area.
And there's no need for additional erosion and sediment controls because everything else is asphalt around it, correct?
Right, we're not actually disturbing
Right.
soil.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, so A motion to issue a negative determination type 2 that the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area and does not require a notice of intent.
Second the motion.
Any further discussion?
48-hour notice of...
Well, that's number 3, not number 2.
Oh, okay.
And that's buffer zone, not area subject to protection.
So there's no added conditions?
No, this is what we're constrained to. So what's the alteration of a resource area? Or what's the work in a resource, in an area subject to protection?
It would be riverfront, right?
But they're exempt from its historical complex.
Oh, it's not really BLSF either, because we're like inside the bank, see?
You're actually above.
We're above.
Any resource area.
Yeah. Which
So
is
the regulations don't actually address
Air
whether it's resource
above.
area or buffer zone. So just figure out what
So
you think.
I guess if we want conditions, then we should consider revising your motion so that we can include conditions.
Most commissioners would do, if it's above and it's an intermittent stream or it's not a resource area, would call it a buffer zone. Because if you're above it and you're not out from it.
And we would then be allowed to utilize the conditions and get notifications.
At the point at which things do drop in, though, then it becomes alteration in a resource area, right?
But they're not
That would actually
proposing
be a
any
violation.
alteration. And that would be an enforcement order.
Right.
But it would be a friendly one. So that it could be addressed.
Stop doing that.
It's a thing. Sort of.
Let's hope the netting does its trick.
Well-
Does its job.
And Jim has described a well thought out BMP.
Right, I'm not worried about it happening, I'm just saying if we call it a buffer area now, does that become problematic?
I don't
later?
No.
think so, because it would, historic mill complex wouldn't change.
Right, so I will revise my motion to issue a negative determination type 3 that the work described is within the buffer zone, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act, and does not require a notice of intent subject to the following conditions, with the conditions being 48-hour notice before construction begins.
And then do we want to check it at some point during or after?
Well, if we get 48-hour notice, then Cassie will know when it's going on.
If I may, through the chair, though, point of regulatory information. A determination does actually not allow,
Site.
you actually,
Access to the site.
right, so I would
So
always
if we-
include the commission has the ability to inspect the work during normal business hours.
So how about that for the second one? Sure?
I will revise my motion as suggested by Mark Stinson. So the conditions would be 48-hour pre-construction notice and access to the site for inspections as requested by the commission.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Do you want to write that down? Thank you. If
It's
you
weird
could-
not to bring in 7 sets of plans
It's
or
really
10 sets of
okay.
plans or
It's really okay, and actually,
Safety
while we're in a lull here, can we pass this down to Cassie? And then if you would like to wait a moment, we can make a copy and you can take it with you. Okay. You too. Or would you rather have a PDF tomorrow?
No, hand it to me now.
So 2 copies, it's even easier.
Imagine the email at work.
It's a lot.
Entertaining, it's entertaining.
Well, the thing is, if you hand deliver it to them, you should hand deliver it to me at the same time, because the issuance date has got to be the same.
That's very problematic.
Anyway,
Wherever you want. That way it won't go flying off and take someone there.
Hard.
Last decision.
We got all week.
Signature over somebody.
Actually, one more for Cassie. Thank you. Everybody? Oh, yeah. All right, thank you. And we'll just pause while Cassie does that.
Chocolate break, caramel, anyone?
I'm all set for now.
Why is this?
Because he's bigger.
Cute.
That looks,
Different sections of it.
where was that?
These are the bridges that are out.
Scary.
There's little crossings that are out there. We did not go look at it that day.
With the team.
What was that on? So it's north of there.
Oh, I don't get around either. I'll be
I'm not jealous at all.
Are we?
Waterfall Valley. Not warm. Hopefully.
It's true.
Hopefully.
Yeah, my right cousin has a cousin, two cousins that live there actually. When I was getting married. As if it was a destination wedding.
The 14 gate took
Yeah.
like a half hour load.
Pops up in this, maybe a little straight.
Yeah, we didn't quite realize how many islands flying into Honolulu.
I think you have
Where all the
like
fields are.
That's what I figured. That's exactly what we thought. You went for
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and we didn't need to go. But I have a friend from college who lives there. Yeah, I know.
Was there.
It's Hawaii.
Was that, did they need approval from land?
Yeah.
I don't remember so long ago. So this is the road we came in on.
for you? Right, because
Copy
otherwise.
I wonder if we keep it in your track.
The chute that had the stadium.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Good night.
Yeah, but it's, they're out
Please
here.
silence your cell phone, sir. Horribly offended. Moving on. All right, next item is under request for certificates of compliance. Public meeting, request for certificate of compliance, DEP file number 151286. 286. For work filed by Heritage Surveys, Inc. for an order of conditions related to completed work on a cross-country track for Williston Northampton School at Taft Avenue and 198 Park Street, maps 156 and 162, lots 65, 58, and 4, filed November 20th, 2019. So what was the other one? What was the, oh, holistic, sorry.
Holistic, yes.
It's been a long week already. Okay. Yes, it's only Monday. So, good evening.
Evening. Record Mark Reed from Heritage Surveys. Jeff Tan is also here from Williston. So this has been an ongoing project that we got an extension for the project for the cross-country trail system, being 2 phases. The first phase was completed some years ago. being the cross-country trail system that off of Taft Ave. And then the replication area for that wetland project was done on other properties that they, Williston owned, up gradient of the wetland fill area at the Park Street site. So we've gone through a couple of growing seasons. We had a site visit on January 2nd. Jay, Cassie, I'm sorry, I forget your name. Deborah.
Yeah.
Yes, Deborah attended. And that was it, right? Just the four of us?
Yes.
That's
Yeah. I also brought a copy on the memory stick, or whatever you, thumbnail, whatever you want to call these silly things, of all of the inspection reports that I did for the project, dating back to day number 1. So you have that
That's excellent. Thank you.
for that. I brought copies of the most recent reports, hard copies of the most recent reports dating back to November 18th, July 2019, and then the reports that I did in July 18th, 2018, when the work was done.
So can you summarize for us the
Sure.
compliance history here, especially the construction and inspections of the wetland replacement areas?
Sure. So the actual work to install the bridge across the Broad Brook, there were 2 small wetland areas that had to be filled at that crossing. And then through the rest of the trail system, we had some other footbridges that were installed. I think there were 4 altogether, different areas, from memory serves me right. I'm sorry, 3. 1, 2, 3 areas that were done.
Just trying to find the sheet with the Broad Brook span. Do you have that?
Should be.
I'm very turned around.
Oops. That'll bring the whole set around.
Those are the footbridges.
I just have the replication area. It should be a full set. Oh, right there. That'll have it.
Be over here someplace,
That'll have it.
because they have access to it.
So the span over Broad Brook is here.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And that's where the wetland fill areas were. 2 sections, one on either side of the brook, the Broad Brook. About maybe a quarter of a mile to the south is where the wetland replacement area was, or is. Next to the the roadway going into White Brook Middle School. I've got that full-size plan, but
So this was for the project proposed the alteration of 1,723 square feet of wetland BVW, and 1,922 was the proposed and permitted replacement.
correct.
Okay.
So there are 2 replacement areas on either side of a wetland finger that came up into the field or the meadow on Park Street. A smaller section to the west side and a larger section to the east side of that wetland finger to come up with the replacement.
So when was the area was constructed? When?
2018,
Okay. And when were the annual inspection, entry inspections?
yeah, so, yeah, this is in 2019. In the fall, we did that one. And then, let's see. For that, And then
All of them?
those are the, yeah, right. Those are the ones when they were installed, doing the actual installation of it.
Okay.
So I guess thinking about it, time-wise and so forth, 2 years from the date of the construction of it would be July of this year, direct 2 years.
So it's the end of the growing season. It's
End
not
of
2
growing
years,
season.
it's the end of the.
End of growing season, okay, so in the growing season this year then.
Did we talk about this at all in the past year, though? I don't recall any discussion on this one.
No.
No, the last report we had was in the fall. That I emailed to the commission. We had some discussion then, just briefly stating that we were doing another annual report.
So I understand there was a site visit on January 2nd. And based on some of the photos here, I can see a lot of vegetation, but what I feel is missing and can't really be evaluated terribly well at this time is what's actually, what the vegetative composition really is. You know, I see the photo that, you know,
That was a
New
seed
England wet
mix.
mix was applied.
Correct.
Looking at the November, I'm apparently a little rusty because I can't tell based on the photos what's going. Please tell me if you can. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when we
So-
were out to site visit, you know, there was a great deal of sedge and growing, and even through the winter it was nice and green.
But do we need one more growing season to actually evaluate?
We do. And I guess my concern is making an evaluation outside the growing season. Because this is, you know, in terms of like the scale of projects in Easthampton especially, this has had a bigger impact than most. Most of ours don't usually have direct impacts, and I would personally not be comfortable making this decision before the end of the second full growing season without an analysis of the vegetative composition.
Okay, that's fine.
I know it does appear that it's definitely got more than 75% cover, which is good. The soils are going to hold in place, but I don't know what the species are. So that's my personal perspective on this. I
Do
don't
we
know how the rest of the board feels.
Did we have a requirement for any specifics of the monitoring report or who would do the assessment?
Not making out of it.
You got an extra copy of the report there, Mark? That I can look at.
That one?
Just try those.
Let's see, this is those are the ones, and then this is the last one, right?
If I may, who actually is claiming that the wetlands were properly properly replicated?
We are.
Who?
Heritage, myself.
Are you a wetland scientist?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so that's my problem right there.
Do we have a wetland replication plan in there? Does it specify what we're supposed to?
Yes, there is a plan.
Yeah, it's part of the drawings.
Yes.
Were there any data forms, data sheets, Mark?
No.
Okay. So I think at this time, unless anyone would like to argue otherwise, I'd like to continue this so that we can discuss this at some point in the next growing season.
I have a question about the maintenance of the trail. And I don't know if you're involved with it, Jeff, but it seems to me that there's, it's not totally stockpiling, but there's mounding of debris, like sticks and branches on the edge of the trail. It looks like it's meant to delineate the trail. And I was just concerned that can cause drainage issues. Do you know, have you?
Well, I know that was the plan that was submitted called for lining the trail with material that had fallen down and stuff in the area. So since the project was done, I'm more on other projects, so I haven't gone out there. I'm not healthy enough to go out.
You're not running the trails?
No. Not that I'm unhealthy, but I just don't do healthy things. That's it. But certainly, if they're mounting stuff up that isn't appropriate, I'm happy to get that dealt with. But I know I'm pretty sure the design of the trail called for, because that was something that actually kids through the years had kind of done on a lot of the trails out there. And we kind of picked up on that and said that we would line the trail to delineate it with material that had fallen on the site. So
I didn't realize that was part of the plan, and as somebody who used to do trail work, that was always a no-no. So
well,
I don't know what other people on the commission think about it or feel about it.
Is it within an area subject to jurisdiction or not?
Well, yeah, because there's those wetland crossings.
Okay, so it's at the wetland crossings?
Well, there's the bridges at the wetland crossings, and then it's like right after it. Mm-hmm. And then there's one or two wet areas on the trail that are probably not designated as wetlands, but are just swampy.
It doesn't really follow. We actually walked the whole thing when the NOI was submitted, so there may be areas that didn't qualify, but the whole purpose was to create the stable surface.
And I walked it after the wetland crossings were in place and looked at it, but I don't remember any wet spots crossing the trail, but that's, that could be.
Yeah, and that's not actually the concern for me. It's just the debris on the side of the trail and how that can cause differences of permeability and flow and stuff like that.
My only concern, do we require any certified wetland scientists to survey and?
Well, what we do require as part of the certificate of compliance request is, and I don't know what the full package looks like, but as-built, and so you gave us an as-built of the wetland replication area, but not of the
trail system.
The bridge, was that included or?
No, not of the bridge area.
Okay. The notes on the drawing, which were approved as part of the order of conditions, says that there would be monitoring forms. The photographs are helpful, but as we talked about, the species composition is really the critical piece, although it's good that it's vegetated successfully. So that's a step in the right direction. And then it's for the whole permit that you're requesting a full certificate of compliance. So we would need to know that the bridge and the crossings were constructed as approved as part of this as well. So But that said, we've got quite a few months before growing season even begins.
Yes.
Despite the weekend. So I guess we would
Continue
this to,
Fall?
If I may, through the chair.
please.
The regulations actually don't allow a continuance of a request for certificate of compliance. The regulations
Certainly.
require that you actually issue a letter to the applicant stating why you're refusing to issue a certificate of compliance.
Okay, so the commission will issue a letter
Yeah.
stating that.
It shall notify the applicant, such refusal shall be issued within 21 days of receipt of the request, shall be in writing, and shall specify the reasons for denial.
Okay. So we would simply issue a letter outlining the pieces that we need in order to move this forward.
As the applicant, can we request the commission to continue it?
The regulations don't say that.
Don't say that. Okay.
So,
I mean, some commissions do, but my job is to help train commissions. Here's the regulations, this is the way it should be done.
Mhm.
I just need to state that I was at the replication site and I was not able to view the bridge. So I don't know if you need to.
so, and I guess at this, this juncture, we have an incomplete picture, and there are as-built drawings that need to be provided, and we need to get through the next growing season in order to have an evaluation of the wetland replication areas presented. So I guess we just have to write a letter to that effect.
I can do that.
And we'll keep this all together and revisit this. What time of year was it constructed?
In July.
So it was July 2018, so before the end of the 2020 growing season.
Correct.
So,
Can I request that we do a site visit of the whole trail too? I just have some.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think we would do that when we get all that information.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
We haven't done it, so I just want to make sure that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on for a whole year and we never discussed it once except for the site visit that I couldn't attend. So I know nothing about it, so.
Okay. So, I think that's where we are.
Okay.
So
Yep.
we will, I'm sure, well, we'll be seeing you again soon too.
Yep.
All right. Thank
All
you
right.
both. Thank you,
Yep.
Jeff.
No problem.
Cassie, do you want to give us updates on enforcement actions?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Okay, so the first one would be CFN Properties at 10 and O'Neill Street. And in my notification email to you all, I said that they would be in attendance, and they did not show up. They called me, and
Okay.
I communicated with Chris Fall. He said he would not be able to attend. But he did give me an update on what they wanted to do. And if you remember, we sent that letter that essentially had the two options of how they could proceed. They decided to go with option 2, which was to properly permit and
Okay.
convert the area essentially, if possible, to a parking area.
Okay, that's up to them to present to us, so.
Yeah, he said he's working with Doucette Associates, and they're going to be. They said they wouldn't be able to do obviously any work until the spring,
Right.
and so I told him, get the permitting done first whenever you're ready. But he's waiting to hear from them. They're still figuring out what will be feasible.
Okay.
Before they come to permitting, but
All right.
Doucette was the original designer, right?
I don't know.
I think so.
It wasn't Heritage.
Yep. So it's good.
Limited number of characters. Okay. All right, so, and when I drove by, out by chance, and glanced over, they weren't using that area, so.
They haven't been for a while since we've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah, Chris has been very communicative and really working with us in the process. So.
Did they give so they're waiting on Doucette, so I would just follow up and try to get an actual schedule out of them?
Yeah.
So that we know when we'll have it on the agenda?
He was saying on the phone that they would hope to have more of a solid plan in the next couple weeks, so that's when I was going to reach out to them again.
Okay.
If he doesn't reach out to me first, of course.
Sounds good. Okay, Saranac Westview Terrace, no
No
updates,
updates.
not growing season. Okay. Kaufman, 298 Loudville Road.
So it's still the plan from the timeline that they sent me. It's January, so they're on the design of permit level plan stage. And so they'll be presenting to the Conservation Commission in theory in February. So my plan was to reach out to them near the end of the month and just double check that was going to happen.
Mark, do you recall that one? We'd reached out to
I do.
DEP for support.
Yeah. I don't make decisions on
No.
what cases. we
No,
take.
I'm just making sure there's context.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, I do remember it.
Okay. All right, St. Bridget's Cemetery, Our Lady of the Valley Parish, Effort Street.
Yes, nothing until the spring.
Right, okay. Autumn Properties LLC, rear 161 to 165 Northampton Street.
No updates.
Do we have something due?
They're supposed to give us a report.
Would it have been December?
Would have been before the end of 2019, so you could just make a point of following up on that one.
Any
Who's their-
report?
Who's their consultant?
It is GZA.
Okay.
That was Dan Nitchie.
Yeah.
And is the report, I'm not sure what stage
They
it's
had
at.
to allow, so a rather wide walking trail had been brush hogged through the woods and in part buffer zone, east of the buildings at this location. And so the plan was that they would allow it to kind of revegetate with an eye on managing for invasive species.
Okay.
And I'm guessing there are no updates regarding Bernard Gall, 37 South Street.
Correct.
It's not closed yet?
No.
Okay. I guess I'll check in with Cassie later in the week, just to go over some of these enforcements, see if I can help at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So, are there any open space updates?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Get excited. So, I was finally able to reach land stewardship about Echodale.
Great.
And they were able to send me the original proposal that Mallory had drafted, which I have here if you'd like to see it, and then also the invasive management plan that they had created back in 2017. So we sent those, but in an email from, who was it from? Andrew Morrison. He essentially said, the initial plan for the work was started with a cut stem treatment carried out within the area that had Oriental bittersweet identified within it. This work was never followed up upon. Initially because of mowing that was to be carried out didn't occur. The revised proposal was designed to solve the problem of volunteer mowing as well as fulfilling the requirements for bird habitat and other concerns. This proposal was originally sent to Mallory, then after her departure was sent to Jeff. Jeff Bag. It has been dead in the water, quotation, since April of this year. I would suggest that we all review the proposal, express any concerns, or make any modifications with an expected start date for this coming spring. So if you guys wanted to...
Can you work with Jeff on that?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Right.
Because that is something that the commission receives CPA funding for, as well as putting up funding from the Echodale account.
Okay.
So it would be really good to follow through on this.
Cool. And then I don't know if there's any other, basically what he was saying in that email was that if there was any other things you wanted to do differently, or he just reviewed it and any other comments that you wanted me to get to them.
I guess at this point it would be, does he recommend any plan modifications based on the lapse of time between the cut stem treatment and now?
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. I do not have any updates for the Lathrop community.
I feel like that would be another one to touch base with Jeff on, because that's kind of a bigger picture discussion regarding their open space.
Right.
Set aside.
And I don't know, because that's essentially what I'd done a few meetings ago. The update that I was able to get from Jeff was that Senior Housing was hoping to find a way to partner with Kestrel Land Trust and Pascomic Trust. It's still in the works, so there'll likely be a while before anything comes before the commission, but I can kind of just see if there's anything I can do to like maybe reach out to either of those trusts and see if something can be done. But thank you.
Okay. Are we ready for compliance updates? Okay. Dan, are you ready?
Want some chocolate before we go?
Just that one.
All right, Pleasant Street Mills, DEP file number 151273.
No updates.
Lathrop, 100 Bassett Drive, DEP file number 151283, invasive plant management.
No updates.
Oh, wait, hold on. Pleasant Street Mill, so that permit's expired now.
No, that got extended to December 20th, 2020.
On, let's see, on the
November.
18th of November.
Yeah.
All right, that's right. Somebody will have to update the minutes from last week, month, year.
Okay. Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
All of the above. Okay. Do you have a copy of the minutes from the December meeting? Can you hand mark
Oh,
them?
I did not. I'll make a note, but I can't
Here's a
remember.
copy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Surprised I did not pick that up. Let's see.
I want to make sure that's updated.
Yeah, it's right on the agenda. Yes. So.
Okay. All right, Williston Northampton School off Taft Avenue, DEP file number 151286, cross-country running trail improvements. Note for the record to see the discussion of the request for certificate of compliance and the present denial of said request with letter to be prepared by the city's agent. Okay. Any further comment there? Nope. All right, City of Easthampton, Ashwaubenon Lawn, DEP file number 151288. Water Pitch. Loven Properties, Inc., off O'Neill Street, DEP file number 151287, construction of new commercial facility with BBW impact and restoration.
So yeah, we're still waiting for the spring so we can confirm that the what has grown in further matches the seed mix that they used, which was the New England wet mix. He also provided the reports from rain and such events. If anyone wants to take a look at those inspection reports.
What's the date of the report?
Let's see, there's multiple. First one was from December 11th, 2019. The next one was from December 13th and 14th due to the rain. And then the last one is from December 31st.
Okay.
Was it done by a wetland scientist?
They're all done by
Those are
Mercury.
SWIP inspections,
Oh,
essentially.
okay, swept, okay.
But it's a good point that it's the same potential scenario. So, okay, next item, City of Easthampton, White Brook, Broadbrook, DEP file number 151268.
And no updates.
Holistic Industries, 155 Northampton Street, DEP file number 151296, parking lot and site improvements in city stormwater permit. We have received a request for certificate of compliance for this.
That is my main update. And then I also, again, have the reports as well, if you want to read the dates of those.
Sure.
Okay.
Same?
Probably.
Here's hoping.
Oh, you know what? The first one, for Loven Properties, it's the same, the reports for the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. So you need to add that to the beginning, I'm sorry.
9, 10, 11, 13, 14, and 31.
9, 10, 11, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I have to add some punctuation here. All right, big gun, semicolon.
Right, it's the same dates for all these reports as well for Holistic.
Okay. So request that you look through the request for certificate of compliance and documentation that was provided for Holistic. This is a buffer zone project. But I'm sure we would have required as-built because of limits of work and the stormwater system. So just verify that adequate documentation, including any signed, stamped engineer's statements, are provided.
Okay.
Okay, the next two. 1 Industrial Lofts LLC, 1 Ferry Street, tracks 1 and 2, DEP file numbers 151298 and 299.
At the last meeting, I had talked about that Mike Michon, who is essentially in charge of the project, I suppose.
The owner.
The owner. He was thinking that he was going to request to suspend the reporting because of the lack of work going, but he's decided he's not going to do that. And he's provided many reports since then. And I have a huge old stack here of inspection reports if anyone would like to look at them.
Are there, so I guess if we could have the dates, but are there any corrective actions necessary? Were there any violations of the CGP? Were there any discharges to the channel?
As far as I know,
Failures?
it seems that everything looked fine as far as I could tell. And they're all done by Mike Michon as well, which I don't know if that is okay. I told him that we needed to nominate a person to do it, and he sent me these all in like one big go. So, like he's been doing them, so I don't know.
So maybe you could request a site visit.
Okay, yeah.
Because it was a requirement that they nominate and the commission approve an environmental inspector. And Mr. Michon may be qualified, but he has not presented his qualifications.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Easthampton Park Solar 1 LLC, 232 Park Street, DEP file number 151293.
The only update is that I did receive a call from a third party who's processing their pre-construction requirements that they wanted to start working on that, whatever was necessary. So I just resent them the order of conditions and then also explained, like, kind of just detailed all the items that needed to be in place and confirmed, and then that the pre-construction meeting needed to happen as well.
When was that?
When was it?
When did they reach out to you?
It was a few days ago. I want to say it was on Thursday, the 9th. Yes, it was Thursday the 9th. And he did not respond to my email that I sent him after our conversation. And so I don't have like a set date that when anything will happen yet. Just kind of putting it on your radar.
Have we verified or received notification or proof that the order was recorded for this?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I can double check that.
Can you check?
Yeah.
You can just go and check the deed reference.
Okay.
Through the registry online, and if there's, if the order was recorded against it, it will kind of appear like a side.
Yeah.
Of
okay.
Thank you. All right. River Valley Co-op, 228 Northampton Street. DEP file number 151301, site redevelopment for a new supermarket and related site work.
I have not heard from them specifically about this yet, but my note here is that they last told us that the construction was likely to begin in February or spring. And that was when they came in, they gave us that revised sheet, is when they had said that. That was on the 1st of November.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, the 18th. The meeting of the 18th is when they came and told us that.
Okay. Same question. Did they provide proof of recording?
I don't think so. I have to double check that as well.
And all the pre-construction requirements, and I believe that one will also trigger a SWIP.
And
inspections.
The last that I communicated with them was about trying to get in order their stormwater bond, which I have not yet received. So I know that we're just waiting on those things as well.
Okay. All right. City of Easthampton, Mass DEP file number 151302, pump house demo activities adjacent to Lower Mill Pond.
The work isn't to resume until March or April.
Okay. City of Easthampton, DEP file number 151303 for roadway improvements and maintenance of Ferry Street and Pleasant and Luffield Streets intersection.
No updates.
No updates.
There seems to be a lot of stuff
Yeah,
ready.
yeah.
And
They also have wattles up against the uphill side of the work adjacent to the building across the intersection.
Behind,
like where it couldn't possibly.
is that related to that?
Police department? Excuse me?
Police department.
Yeah.
Is it not another building?
The police department is the,
I think
it's the next door one with the fire department.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next door.
The red button and get them here.
That'd
be fun. No, it's not.
It's not unusual.
No, it's pretty
I'm
embarrassing.
Officer Mike.
But in this case, we have a reason.
No impersonating.
That wasn't
There's been a lot of ground disturbance on that uphill slope.
Basically, they put in the paper to say that it had been,
There's wattles down
the wording?
Yes, there are.
There's a different,
Right at the.
it was basically the last stage of the cleanup.
No,
They had achieved
they're
the
where they
last-
should be.
Like
It's just a really bad.
well, it sounds like it's but I'll have to look at it again, but I
Stop,
think
and then there's like another.
That's like an issue.
For some reason, there's a
No,
break
yeah,
in them.
and I called them, they
Anyway,
explained.
And then I guess they're up here too.
I'll have to get that for you.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
Beacon Solar LLC, DEP file number 151304, large-scale solar project located at 50 Florence Road.
No updates.
Easthampton School Committee, DEP file number 151305, construction of a new school building with associated parking, driveway, utility, stormwater system, track, and field facilities, site amenities, and landscaping at 200 Park Street.
Woo. Yeah, so we had the pre-construction meeting.
Pre?
Yes, pre. On the 19th of December. And at that meeting, we kind of walked the site and discussed what would need to be in place before, or so that I can review it at the actual pre-construction meeting, including one of the things that I had a question about was for condition 21 about reflagging the area that was put in the plan as delineation. They wanted to know if they needed to reflag the areas that would be well beyond the scope of work and not within sight. So they just wanted confirmation that that was okay to only do stuff that was kind of in sight, or I don't know if you want to have a specific
50 feet.
50 feet of the scope.
Proposed limits of work.
Okay, cool.
They've taken out a bunch of trees, but I think it's all.
Yeah, they called me about that. So none of the trees that were removed were within the resource area. And their reasoning for that, and kind of they really wanted to get that done, is they wanted them removed during
Safety of
school
the
break.
children.
Yeah, so that it wouldn't be bothering
the
the kids
children.
during school. Yeah.
Somebody think of the children. So, kind of the same list of questions. Have they recorded the order?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Woohoo.
Wow.
Everybody knows.
Everybody but me. Have they provided any of the pre-construction documentation, nominating, et cetera, contact
The only-
information?
They've provided everything necessary. The only thing
Wow.
they haven't provided, and this was the next question, was they haven't yet to nominate a project environmental monitor as well as a person who would be conducting the weekly
inspection?
reports.
Oh, okay.
Not the SWIP inspections.
Okay.
But the hope was that because the stipulation in the in condition 29, because condition 15 talks about having there be a project environmental monitor, and that's a person who is the main point of contact, seemingly. But then condition 29 calls for, and there's no criteria for who that is, at least in condition 15. Condition 29 asks for there to be someone with credentials that are either a registered engineer or registered land surveyor, or the third option would be a qualified environmental specialist. And they were hoping that they could go the route of qualified environmental specialist and what the criteria for that was to meet that standard. And then they were also hoping that then the project environmental monitor could be the same person as the person described in condition 29 and kind of combine their reports, if that makes sense.
Doesn't seem unreasonable.
The environmental monitor just has to be available 24/7, essentially, in case there's an emergency, right?
Right.
So as long as they get that
And I think they should have at least 5 years experience.
As
The environmental monitor?
Yeah.
Well, what qualifications? 5 years experience of what?
Being an environmental monitor.
What does that mean? No, there is no,
SWIP inspections.
okay, so you want
Conducting.
somebody like a certified erosion and sedimentation control?
They don't have to be certified though, but they need to demonstrate that they've served as an environmental monitor conducting SWIP inspections for
Okay.
other projects.
There is no
No.
professional certification for quote-unquote environmental monitor. You might want to think about being more specific next time. That's all.
Well, we'll have someone different writing this one next time.
Sounds
Sounds good.
We sounds
We usually have them submit a resume,
Resume.
right, and we review.
Yeah.
So when I talk to them, can I just say, give me a resume of someone who ideally has had 5 years of experience in this type of reporting? Okay, cool. And just general knowledge.
And get their resume
Yeah, in the resume.
and cite project examples.
Okay.
So is it subject to your discretion, do you accept?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah, subject to the commission's approval.
Yeah, that's fine.
And most often it's just so that we know that there's somebody there that we can reach out to.
Right.
That sounds good. And so then now that I have these answers to these questions, I will be going to the actual pre-construction meeting will be happening on the 16th at 2 o'clock at the school itself, so 200 Park Street. And that's when I'll be reviewing, that all the things are in place.
January 16th?
That's correct. And I'm trying to think what else. They did have a question about the permanent monument, and I got information that it can be kind of just something that's permanent. There's no set criteria for what it is, just as long as it is indeed permanent. And the purpose is to kind of prevent any kind of damage from mowing, so that
Further
other people.
encouragement.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's basically what I did.
Nothing.
All right, City of Easthampton, 151306, maintenance activities including spreading of gravel, millings, and potholed areas within the existing road footprint, and then the use of a grader to level the road to existing grades on River Street.
Still waiting for a request for a certificate of compliance. I've not received one.
Okay. All right, general business, meeting minutes, December 9th, 2019. I was not present. There appears to be at least one
edit that has
edit.
to be made.
I know Deborah told me of there was another date, but it's or something else that was
It was in 5A. It's in year 1919.
Yeah.
1990.
Yeah. 1919.
1919.
That was a good year.
I think that's I might have typed
For
those.
the,
There's a little fuzzy on it.
The Heritage Survey with the January 2nd visit, it looked like it was canceled. in the
For what?
minutes. The visit that we talked about at the beginning with Mark.
Where is it? Talk about that. We have it.
We had the visits.
Yeah.
There was no email that said it was canceled or anything.
I thought it said, Mark said it
They
wasn't
did.
good to.
The original one
Originally,
was
yeah.
canceled because
I
it
was hoping they were
snowed.
dark
We couldn't
chocolate.
get it.
Dangerous.
But,
have like
you know,
12
they
inches
can't
of
be
snow.
choosers.
And then the redo was on the other side.
All right, so that was all.
We're definitely on records.
Oh, boy.
Can you keep talking?
Yes.
Okay.
So can we act on those minutes, just noting the edits, or do you want to just punt it to next week?
Motion to approve
Just-
as
yeah,
revised
second.
or
Second.
Third.
all in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Right.
So moved.
Nice.
Wait,
The
that was.
commission is in receipt
Wait,
of a
that
notice
was,
of.
oh, hold on, that was Ryan. Who-
Telling me you just
Ryan and me.
got this notice? 297?
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it just says
No.
receipt of notice of intent.
The commission is in receipt of a notice of intent, Mass DEP file number 151297, filed by Easthampton Park Solar 1 LLC for a solar project at Westview Terrace, map 165, lot 47. The notice of intent was filed on April 10th, 2018, date identified as date of filing by Mass DEP.
Right.
The commission has not received public notice or a butter notification regarding this. So this is tracking the 2-year lapse of.
Wow. Oh, okay.
This is
So-
also a property on which there is enforcement
Okay.
occurring. So
Okay.
we have.
So, but you got it, but you didn't get a butter notification?
There was never a public notice, and there was never a legal notice.
Oh, okay.
So we have never opened the hearing for this because they have never fulfilled their public notification
So
requirements.
on April 11th, you're gonna throw it out, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
That is part of why we are
okay.
keeping track of this, because that is one where there was a startling coincidence between where forest cutting plan violations occurred
That one, okay.
and the proposed footprint of work. So,
It happens more than we like to think it does.
I'm shocked, I tell you. Next item, receipt of request for past certificate of compliance for 99 Hendricks Street.
This was that thing where they claim that they've already received the certificate of compliance. I have not been able to find it in that
Nor
records.
have we found any record of it in the minutes.
Right, and I
So-
also found I did find the original request,
Mhm.
but then there's no other documentation. So
No.
and I have been in communication with Mr. Daigle on the phone and told him everything that he would need, as-bills, all the same suite of things, and I have not heard from him since. That was many weeks ago.
Okay, well,
I can probably take it off
I think we can take this off the agenda,
Okay.
and frankly, that is a stream crossing, driveway crossing, so unless something comes in with a PE stamped as-built, and I wouldn't entertain doing a site visit until the growing season anyway. Next item, MACC Environmental Conference information.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you guys would want to know about this. I thought it might be of interest to some of you just because there's going to be a number of workshops and fundamentals for Conservation Commissioner units provided at this, if anybody wants to take a look. I kind of circled the ones that would be pertinent to me, but you guys, you can take a look at this, maybe ignore the circles. But unless, you want to just go to them with me, which is fun, but.
It is Saturday, February
There
29th.
you go, there's
That's
an
right.
opportunity.
At
Road trip.
College of the
Road
Holy
trip.
Cross in Worcester.
That's correct.
There'll be a
Melissa
great
goes there all the
presentation on
time.
beaver.
I will be there.
Are you giving a presentation?
We went to the last one in,
Yeah, right, yep. We went to the last conference
Wherever that
together,
was.
and,
Maybe don't. I can
Denver.
send you the notes.
what was it? It was,
Fort-
it wasn't
Devon.
Devon's
Devon's.
Air.
Yes, Devon's for sure. Yeah, so I don't have the registration deadline yet, but just, if you want me to try to, I'm not sure if the commission can pay for your registration.
You
as
would have to
commissioners,
check
or-
with Jeff on the budget.
Okay,
are we still members?
yes, you
All
are.
right, hurry up.
Get discount.
The only caveat is that the workshops can fill up.
Mhm.
So if you're interested in going, you should register yourself.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so just let me know and I can send you, if you want more information too, I can send you stuff.
Next item, new permitting guidance forms for public and procedural checklists.
I don't know, we don't have to go over them now. I kind of made them available to you when I sent out my informational email. But basically, this is the thing that Jeff and I had discussed when I first started here, was kind of creating some guidance for the public on how to complete the filing. And it's essentially just an explanation of what is an RDA and when should you do it, and here's all the contact people, and there's a bunch of links in there. And then it's essentially a checklist for all the things that would be part of the complete RDA application. And then I've done that for NOIs, and I've done it for, I redid the legal ad information and because their deadlines have changed for things like that as well.
Good.
And I'm kind of just in the process of creating all of that. And I just didn't know if any of you did get a chance to look at it, if you have any suggestions. But
Do you want me to look at it too?
sure, yeah, that would be great.
Shoot me an email.
Okay, yeah.
Was that uploaded to to the city's website yet, or are you
Yeah,
waiting?
yeah, I put them on the website because I know that the information, at least for the legal ad, is not correct anymore. So I did put that, I just
Okay.
put that one up there, and I made sure there weren't any like glaring errors. So, but if there's anything you want me to add, they basically they were already in existence, and just kind of updated them and just added a few more things. So nothing that's crucial should be missing from them. And then I'm kind of just going through the process of doing it for, like, writing one for an ANRAD and one for a certificate of compliance, and just like kind of doing it for everything, I guess. It's helping me, you know, to learn it. And then one other thing that I've done is created, this is for administrative purposes. I wouldn't like give this to the public, but basically like a checklist that would go in the front of each file and just be like, did they give all the things? Like, this is one for the order of conditions. So did we get the pre-construction meeting? When was it? Did we get a DEP sign is up? And I don't know if that's interesting to you guys. But...
No, I think that's very useful.
Okay, cool.
Especially since the questions that we ask are, you know, has the order been recorded? Because it's
Right.
technically not valid until it's been recorded.
Exactly.
And then things like the pre-construction submittal requirements, if there are any.
Yeah.
Those are all things that tend to hopefully not fall through the cracks.
Right, and so that would be, hopefully this will always be on like the top of the document, so you could easily check what's been done, what's missing, and kind of just go from there. And then it would help remind me like what needs to be done. So if anybody has anything to add about those things, I'd love to hear it. And then,
I'll be glad to.
okay, cool, I'll definitely send it to you. So let me just make a note.
Before you adjourn, a couple things I'd like to bring up, but they're not pertaining to any particular project, so it's mostly training stuff. So if you want to close, that's fine, adjourn.
I have an issue
Oh, you
before
have
we close.
no issues.
And I have a few other
No.
things to add as well.
Not.
All right, so
No.
First of all, I need to ask if anyone else wants to represent the Conservation Commission on the CPA committee.
Wants to or has time to?
It's up to you.
I'm not a public accountant. What's
That's
that?
right. So, otherwise, the committee needs to vote to reappoint me as the representative.
Motion to reappoint Jay as the representative.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Done. Thank you, Jay.
It's just procedural, that's all.
No, happy to, especially since the way you started. I'm like, oh, great, Jay's not there.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, actually, I just have a few more things. One thing, this is just a quick question, is that on January 16th, I received a letter about a community outreach meeting from Easthampton Advanced Research Park, LLC, pursuant to MA Regulations 935, CMR 500-1012B7. All that stuff. It's a part of an application to the Cannabis Control Commission for an adult use cannabis cultivation license and an adult use cannabis manufacturing license and an adult use cannabis retail license located at 93, 95, and 97 Northampton Street. I didn't know this. They sent it to me directly, so I didn't know if
This
you
is the
wanted me
Tasty
to
Top
go.
parcel.
Yes.
So I can go, but I didn't know if you guys any of you guys wanted to go, or if I haven't received any permitting paperwork or anything.
So so historically on this property, there years ago was an ANRAD for wetland resource area boundaries, and nothing has happened with the property since then. So it's up to you whether or not you go. You might want to check the ANRAD file just so you have kind of in your mind's eye what the commission had previously approved as the boundaries and buffer zones, so that you can have an idea of whether or not if they have any conceptual site
Aren't they
development
having a
plans.
meeting this week at Eastworks about
Yeah, it's the
informational
16th,
session?
right?
This is the 16th, yeah.
Yeah,
He's talking about
that's
the
it.
same meeting, so it's
Oh,
at
okay.
January 16th at 6 p.m. It's at Eastworks. I can send out this to you all if anyone's
Sure, send
interested
it
in
out.
going.
There was a legal notice in the paper as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
But you're right, at this time, the commission hasn't received anything, so.
That's probably the second busiest work going on in the region. First is solar, second is marijuana growing. Either greenhouses or fields.
So it's interesting, there are 2 solar permits out there in Easthampton, and neither one has gotten started. As an observation.
Interesting.
We have a limit though for marijuana.
This is number
6.
6, yeah.
Do we have a
Is
limit?
this 4, 5, and 6?
I think this, well, I don't know, I think
I
this,
think there were 4 already, though.
yeah.
Is
So
there,
there are
I
only
think this is
2
like the last
left
one.
for,
is there a limit for solar?
probably not, no. Not, at least, not in Easthampton.
I'm
You'd have
not
to ask the
aware of-
city
well,
planner.
The only one towns I'm aware of that have limits on solar is usually the size that are being allowed.
Which would then limit the
Yeah.
potential for,
Yeah, for
Interest.
commercial,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Or how close they can be to each other?
No, there's none of that. It's typically just, you know, how large a site can you build upon? Some towns have a limit of 1 acre for solar, which really negates any commercial use. Others have a moratorium, others don't allow it at all.
Or how many acres of trees you can cut down to
I'm not aware of any town that
Belchertown,
has that limit.
Granby?
Isn't there a zoning restriction in town that there was there's 2 landfills in town, there is the solar on the Oliver Street landfill. It was gonna be proposed in the other landfill, but then the zoning doodad thingamabob was enacted to keep it off that.
you're right, there is some provision in place that
It was a long time
precludes
ago.
solar development of the Loudville Road landfill.
Yes.
But abutters.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good,
Still a
actually, it's a
landfill.
good use of a brownfield site or a landfill.
Yeah.
Solar really is.
Yep.
I mean, they don't penetrate the cap.
Right.
They use the concrete ballast.
No, the Oliver Street landfill has solar on it. That was the first one in town.
First one in the state, I think.
Was it?
I think so.
Way to go, Easthampton.
On a capped landfill or?
Yes.
First reuse of a landfill for
Okay.
solar, I believe. I think. I mean, it's been 10 years. I think it's been 10 years.
I make a motion to adjourn?
No, I took
No,
no.
no, no.
I'm sorry, and it's super, this is really quick, but it's important. I just wanted to go, if anyone had any question about the regulation changes, I sent a couple of things about it. I also, MACC did a webinar going over the changes as well that I can provide you because I recorded it. And then also, but I won't distribute it. But then also I have a document from DEP which kind of is the summary of the changes as well. The main concern that a lot of communities have is that if they have it will require a different method of more certified mailing of documents to DEP, which could affect budgeting. I don't know if we have a single line item for our certified mail postage budget or not.
That's a Jeff question.
Okay, and so I just wanted to put on all of your radar. And then the other thing that might be most pertinent to you as commissioners would be that they updated the plant list to one from 2016, which is cool. So it's the State of Massachusetts 2016 wetland plant list is now the one to reference, as opposed to the original 1988 plant list. So if anyone wants to see the wording and
Which is actually on the Army Corps website.
yeah.
So it's the national list? Okay. So, but by statutory language,
You still have
hemlock is still,
pseudocadensis,
yeah, okay,
Because that's in the act.
yes.
Okay. What was the effective date, or is the effective date of these?
I don't know if they've said the effective date yet. There was a hearing on the 8th and the 9th that I attended.
Yeah,
but
it should be soon.
But it's not effective yet.
I
You
don't
can still
think so.
submit comments, I believe, until the 30th. So if you want to submit comments, that would be very helpful.
It's going to cost small towns more money to send things in certified. Because the issuance date is not when you hand it to the applicant. It's actually the postmark date of when it's mailed to DEP.
So there was discrepancy between those things that was occurring a lot.
So I was telling Melissa a little earlier, there's a couple of orders that you guys have issued that they've already started work, but it slipped through the cracks after Mallory left, the orders were never sent to us. So I gave a list to Cassie and Melissa, and they're gonna work on getting it to us. Just email it to me, just get it done.
Yeah, I'll be back on Thursday. It's my first order of business. And I have one last thing, but it's kind of a fun thing. So Native Plant Trust, they have a volunteer program for helping with monitoring rare plants, seed collection, habitat management. They just asked that I let you guys know if anyone's interested in volunteering for the Native Plant Trust.
Do you have that electronically? Great, can you forward that?
I was trying to learn more of this, so maybe I might be interested.
So
it
is
looks
it,
cool.
so for any of the rare stuff, I imagine that's managed by someone with a scientific collection permit from Natural Heritage?
I'm not sure. I haven't really
Sure
delved
as
into
heck
any of the
hope it is.
details.
Native
Yeah.
Plant Trust?
Yeah.
Generally know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, most of the things with the positive spin to them don't necessarily always go through the proper channels. Because there's some things, I bet these do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're,
I mean, this is,
well, Garden in the Woods is, yes.
yeah, they changed their name.
That's finally the end of it.
I have 2 minutes, Melissa?
Sure.
Okay. Just a note, the filing fee money, so when no spend is submitted except for municipal project, there's a filing fee. Do you guys know how much money you have in the account?
I haven't taken a chance to look with Jeff about that.
Jeff
actually.
has been keeping an eye on it,
All
so.
right. I just want to make sure it's.
We've been,
you guys.
it is, they are coming to us. We resolved that issue
Years ago.
years and years ago
Good.
after it kept going into the general.
So my point being that, you know, a lot of towns, Conservation Commission meeting rooms are actually having a laptop and a screen that you're tied into. So instead of having a consultant put up the usual stuff to show a plan, they bring the information on a flash drive and the agent or whoever throws it up on the screen, regular TV screen. And that way, everybody can see it better. She can also pull up Google. She can pull up site photographs instead of handing things around. And the Department of Revenue guidance for the use of filing fee money says you can use it to assist in the administration and enforcement of the Wetlands Protection Act. So I'm throwing it out, ideas out to the commissions. If you have a lot of money, you haven't spent it lately, you probably have thousands of dollars. You know, there's nothing really stopping you from getting a laptop, getting a big 75-inch, 55-inch, whatever TV, throwing it up and telling consultants to bring things on flash drives. So, something to think about.
That's worth discussing after the next budget
Cool.
approval, because you get paid out of that.
Oh,
So I'd rather have you than a laptop and a screen.
Yeah, well, I'm just
Yeah,
throwing
no,
ideas.
it's a good suggestion, and it is helpful, more
Let's
helpful
get the
than a.
TV first.
Okay, the other last thing is,
Please, Jason.
I went over everything else already. You're in, part of Easthampton must be an MS4 community. Who does the stormwater review in town, in Easthampton? Is there a stormwater committee? You guys, the
It
issuing
depends on
authority?
how the project is being filed.
Okay.
We have a stormwater ordinance. If it's going to come to us, we review it. If it's not going to come to us, the planning board reviews it.
Okay, because what they're trying to do under the wetland regulations is to have the MS4 regulations match more closely with the Wetlands Protection Act stormwater standards. So you don't have to review it under both stormwater standards and the MS4 regs, because they are different in multiple ways. So they are trying in the next regulatory revision to get those closer together.
Okay.
So, I mean, some towns, the Conservation Commission is the stormwater authority for the community, the MS4 communities.
I think
Whereas-
the commission, when the stormwater ordinance was written, the goal was not to have non-jurisdictional, non-wetlands protection or
Okay.
jurisdictional permits
That's
coming
fine.
out of the commission. It just, I think it also caused a little confusion, but
Okay,
that was one of the concerns of the commission, not having any real structure to support that at the time.
right. So, I mean, MS4 is getting bigger, of course, all the time, and we want to work with the communities that are MS4 communities to make sure things go smoothly for them. Right now, the commissions and DEP, we don't have any authority outside the Wetlands Protection Act. There is no statewide stormwater set of regulations. It's strictly the feds under the MS4 stuff.
Okay.
That's all. Do you guys have any questions? You know, everybody should have my contact information. I'll be glad to answer any kind of questions you have. Just like Cassie and Melissa call me sometimes, you guys are more than welcome to shoot me an email or call me to answer anything you guys need.
I'll take you up on it.
Okay.
Watch out.
Michael may have some very specific questions about solar.
Okay. I've reviewed, I don't know, I've lost track of the number of solar projects I reviewed, and I don't see too many actually getting the stormwater correct. Let's put it that way. Good to see you.
I don't know solar, what that means, so I have no idea.
All things being equal, a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I can't make a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. At 7:36.
Wow, that's it?
That's
Well, thank you
clock.
for joining.
Is that correct?
No, that seems way too.
It's correct. No.